All right, good evening, everyone. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. We'll go ahead and get started and be respectful of everyone's time. I want to appreciate everyone for joining us this evening. I want to especially thank our students who have joined us for our student panel and our partners at the Culture and Identity Centers. My name is Paige Smith. I'm admissions representative here at Wright State University. I'm going to kind of give you a brief intro, of course, give you some admissions information, and then I will spare most of the time for our student panel. We have some questions prepared for them, but we also want to hear from everyone that is on the event this evening. And so if you notice at the bottom there of your screen, there should be a chat feature. So if you have a question for any of our panelists or at any time, you can just put it in the chat. There's also a Q&A feature. You can put it in there as well. And feel free to put them in as soon as right now. So if you've had some questions that you were thinking about asking leading up to the event, you can go ahead and put those in the chats and we'll get to them. So as in a effort to recruit a more diverse student population, Wright State has started these events. And we just want to know at Wright State, no matter where you come from, you can find your passion, your people, your mentor, and your future. And so what does inclusive excellence mean? So for Wright State, we have our president and our leadership on campus have kind of gave that some thought of what inclusive excellence means. And so they've defined it, or what it means to the university is that inclusive excellence utilizes a more broad definition of diversity. It melds inclusion and academic excellence into one word, because to be excellent, we must be inclusive. It shifts the responsibility of diversity and inclusion to everyone on campus, opposed to one unit or department, and moves away from numerical goals and focuses on structural cultural transformation for the university and the community. So we see diversity as something that unites us all and prepares us and prepares all of our students for our ever-changing and diverse world. And so one of the ways that we did it is through our Culture and Identity Centers, and they are who we partnered with for this event. So I just wanted to highlight our 4 Culture and Identity Centers here. So we have our Belinga Black Cultural Center, Latinx, Asian, and Native American Affairs, or LANA as we like to call it, Office of LGBTQA Affairs, and our Women's Center. And these all 4 centers are here to support students from these backgrounds, as well as provide different resources. And we'll talk a lot more about it, I'm sure, as we delve into the student panel. And then we have Mia Honecker on here as well, who is the assistant director for LANA, and she can cover some of our Identity Center questions as well. And then I just wanted to highlight some of our student organizations, especially our student organizations that are geared towards students of color. So we do have over 100 different student organizations that I know all the students on our panel this evening are involved in many of these different organizations. So I just wanted to highlight some of the categories. So fraternities and sororities, we do have the NPHC fraternities and sororities. We have student associations like the Association for Native American Students. We have academic clubs, and then community clubs like Black Women Striving Forward, Black Student Union. And so those are just some examples. Of course, I'll let the students talk about their experiences as well. And then to cover some of the admissions information, I wanted to cover financial aid and scholarships, because not only is college about finding your right fit as a student, but also a fit financially. And it's very important to us to let students know their comprehensive financial aid packages as they come to Wright State. So I wanted to highlight the 3 different scholarships that we have for first-year students. And so our academic performance scholarships are solely based on your GPA. And we have specific scholarships for underrepresented students with a certain GPA as well. So you'll want to apply to the university, get us those transcripts, and we can see if you qualify for those academic performance scholarships. We have competitive scholarships, which are one application qualifies you for over 400 different scholarships. And I know many of our different culture and identity centers have scholarships that are through this competitive scholarship application. They can also range from different academic interests, extracurriculars. So we really strive to have students fill out that application. And then we also have need-based scholarships. So if you fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and get it to us as soon as possible, we can evaluate that to see if you have any unmet need and offer scholarships for that. So these scholarships all can be stacked on top of each other to try to make college as affordable as possible. And the admissions office and our financial aid offices are all here to help you through that process. But I did want to highlight the deadline as well as February 1st. So you know what kind of timeline you have to get these completed. And then, of course, it wouldn't be an admissions event if we didn't encourage you to apply. So our application is completely free, eliminating all those barriers that it takes to apply to the university. And so you can apply at wright.edu/apply for free. So I told you I'd be very brief because I really do want to highlight all of our students on our student panel. And so at this time, we'll move right into the student panel, and we'll have, I know we have one more joining us, and she was getting out of class at 6, so she said she might be a little late. So when she logs on, we'll introduce her as well. But if everyone on the panel can kind of introduce themselves, and we'll start with Rebecca.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Wise. I am a senior. I also am a social work major. I am here on behalf of the Abilities Club. We advocate for people with disabilities and try to build community and just create activities and volunteer and leadership opportunities.
Kevin, if you want to go next.
Hi, my name is Kevin Jones. I am the founder and task force vice chair for Retain the Nine, the university's official retention project for underrepresented minorities. I'm also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Wright State Pi Phi chapter here on campus. And I also used to hold a plethora of different student leadership roles, opportunities, positions to not just advance my own experience, skill sets, and professional life, but also those around me who are connected to me and students here on campus.
All right, awesome. And then Mia, if you just wanted to quickly introduce yourself and kind of explain what you do here at the university.
Hi, I am the Mia Honecker. I am the Interim Associate Director for the Office of Latinx, Asian, and Native American Affairs. As Paige said, is one of our 4 cultural and identity centers on campus. I'm a staff person on campus, so we do a lot of advocacy, mentoring, student support, programming. We have financial aid opportunities, scholarship opportunities. Our centers, when we are post-COVID, will be our home away from home again for our students. We offer just an area to hang out, areas for groups to meet, and to be where you could be yourself. So we do have a little bit of everything in our culture and identity centers. Along with being a staff, I'm also a student. So I am returning back to school, finishing my degree, and a parent of a student as well. So I'm a little bit of everything at Wright State. So So thank you, Paige, for inviting me to this.
No problem. And then the last student, I think she's going to be on here soon, is Sydney Watt, and Wyatt, sorry. And she will be here soon, but I'll let her introduce herself when she gets on here. But the first question that I had for the students is, what was your first impression of Wright State? And then why did you decide that it would be the best university for you?
For me, I was looking at accessibility. How am I going to get around campus? And I was really worried about that at first. And then I saw that Wright State, they had tunnels and everything was easily able to get to, and that there was study abroad opportunities that I saw, which I was really interested in. And then like the affordability also for Wright State really drew me in because compared to a lot of other schools, their tuition is a lot lower.
Yeah, so for me, my first impression of Wright State was the type of outreach that actually was present when I was coming in. A lot of URMs, organizations reached out to a lot of the students to kind of keep them engaged, because as we know, engagement is a huge part of retention as well as admission. And so being able to talk to, current students, upperclassmen who were already at Wright State to kind of show me the ropes on how to be successful, was what kept me there, kept me here, I should say, and attracted me to the campus.
All right, thanks, guys. I got some few more questions. I just want to remind the guests that you can put your questions in the chat or the Q&A. So once you got to campus, how did you find your fit? So I think Kevin kind of expanded on, talking to students that he had already known that come to Wright State. But after you stepped on that first week of campus, college can be, overwhelming for a lot of people. So what was your experience on finding your fit?
So for me, finding my fit went beyond the classroom. It went beyond student orgs, and like working in student orgs. Finding my fit was really a part of my ability to build relationships. President Edwards talks about the ability to build relationships right now as her focus, and her presidency and her administration. And relationships is so huge, not only to me, but it should be to a lot of people. What keeps you somewhere? If I'm feeling down, do I have a great relationship with my professor? If I miss an assignment, if I am struggling in a different class that not even relates to the professor's class that I'm in. So building relationships was huge for me. And a part of that went into joining my fraternity because I built great relationships with those individuals before I was a member of the frat.
Kind of what Kevin said, just making those relationships. I got really connected once I joined ACE. So ACE is we're trying to cross as a sorority, so it's Advocates for Cultural Diversity and Excellence. And that I really grew close to those girls and had those girls to back me up, like when I'm feeling down or we need to do a study group. And so just making those connections. I'm also involved in a lot of other orgs too, as leadership. I'm also vice president of ASA and treasurer of the Social Work Club, and as well as president of the Abilities Club. And so all those combined, getting involved, and getting those connections and building that community really helped me find my fit because in the beginning, like the first semester, I think I was just in my room and didn't do anything, wasn't out. It wasn't until I got to meet new people and get involved, is when I really started feeling like that Wright State was my home. So.
Thank you both. And the next question can be for all three of you. First on the students is, so Kevin kind of mentioned it on how, there's Sydney. And so how you feel supported on campus and how are you supported by faculty and staff?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just how do you feel supported on the at the university, and then how do you feel supported by faculty and staff?
I think for me, for like staff, I actually am an RA in the honors dorms, and the CD and my other RA coworkers, we support each other a lot, and we help each other out a lot. The faculty at Wright State, I'm really good at emailing my professors, and so I've really built upon those relationships, trying to get connected with them. And several of my previous professors have written recommendation letters for me for certain things, and so just building that relationship and just communicating with them. And yeah.
Yes. Can I get a repeat of the question, please? Because I think I know which one that you said, but I'm breaking up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Sydney, if you want to introduce yourself too, and kind of just share what your major is, what you're involved with on campus, and then the question was just how do you feel supported at the university?
Oh, well, hi, everyone. I'm Sydney. I am a third year financial services major here at Wright State. I am the treasurer for the Black Student Union, and I work in the student retention office as well. And I feel supported through staff. It took me a while to find staff that I feel like understood me, but once I found those staff members, I definitely felt supported. I feel like all of Wright State staff is definitely supportive, but to certain situations that I feel like only certain people can I deal with, it definitely took me a moment to find those people who I deal with what I go through on a regular, but it's definitely here.
So for me, I definitely feel supported with staff, admin, and administration, I should say, at Wright State. I started Retain the Nine inside of the cultural organization I was overseeing called Black Men on the Move in October 2017. And that initiative was something so small scale that it didn't get as much recognition as we had anticipated. It was something very simple. It began really as a hashtag, and then when I transitioned and became a leader inside of student government as our chief policy officer last year, Retain the Nine became something so much bigger. Had an opportunity to have different meetings, talk about it at different board of trustees meetings and events and news and things of that sort, kind of getting this huge publicity behind it, not just from the Wright State community, but also at this point nationwide. And so, staff supported the movement. Staff supported the cause the entire way, and constantly had conversations and putting Retain the Nine at the forefront. And then gaining the support of administration in the long term, Retain the Nine was able to do things like give out $35,000 in scholarships on freshman move-in day last year. It was able to create things like the retention office that Sydney works at. It was able to, create a initiative inside of the president's budget. And so I definitely think that student-led initiatives and programs and projects are supported at Wright State, as well as the individuals. And that all goes back into what I mentioned earlier about the relationship building. So I think that there's definitely a strong support system, especially from individuals like Mia, who has been a part of the conversation since day one with Retain the Nine. So she also sits on that task force. And so I do appreciate all the staff members who have supported Retain the Nine, and just Kevin in general throughout my 4 years here at Wright State.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a wonderful task that you've taken, and I'm so proud of our students and Kevin and all the work that you guys done to bring this to our campus. Much needed for many years. Um, I've been here, my history much older than the students on the panel. I was a student in 89, 90, so I've seen the school change from so much to where our culture and identity centers were so small and just Belinga. And we have grown now to 4 identity centers, and we're still growing with the new inclusive excellence and all that stuff in our task force. And it's so great to see what I think for the new students that are coming on board, this is a awesome time to be at Wright State with inclusive excellence and for students of color, because this is where you're going to see more and more departments being involved in this and not just relying upon the diversity offices to do this work. Everybody's putting what do you call the skin in the game. So they're putting making this effort on campus. So I'm just excited to see the growth that we're having on campus with groups like this. For support, what I do with students is I let them take the lead. I'm not there to be the lead of this group. This is how they learn. This is how you learn. And my job is to give you this opportunity to learn so you can take this beyond Wright State to your careers, to outside beyond college. So I'm here to support. I listen to our students. My door is open anytime. Rebecca, I'm an advisor on 2 of the groups that she is on the executive board on. We're just here, and me and the rest of the staff in our culture and identity centers, and most of the staff on campus. I think what we want is we want to see our students shine. We don't want to see the staff shine. We want to see the students shine. So we are here to be your support, and that is what we love to do. You have many staff and many faculty on campus that have been here for many, many years. We call Wright State home, and it's just a good place to be. And I'm glad to see the new students coming in. Like I said, this is an exciting time for inclusive excellence, and we are moving into the right direction that we need to be. So.
Thank you all. So the next question is, if there was ever an incident on campus that you felt that you were unwelcome or not comfortable, do you think the university has systems in place where those issues would be addressed?
Hello, yes, I would love this question. Like I stated before, I definitely feel like there are faculty and staff members that understand what minorities go through on campus, but I feel like we're still working towards a better way to support minority students with like situations like in the past month. I feel like the university has not handled them well when it has come to the Black community. And instead of standing up for the Black community, they just decide to stay neutral, and staying neutral is being a part of the problem. So I think the university is trying their best to handle the situation, but it's not in the best interest of everyone. So I feel like it's a growing process with the university for sure.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so if you felt that there was a situation on campus that made you feel unwelcome or uncomfortable, do you feel like there is a system set up to address those issues?
Yeah, so over my 4 years, there's been multiple situations on campus that has made not just myself, but those around me feel uncomfortable, unsafe, unwanted. And I think that what I've come to realize in these 4 years is that no matter the institution, and I'm not just talking about an educational institution, but I'm talking about any institution in America, that no matter the institution, there's always progress that needs to be made. And I think that with recent leadership changes, recent, changes, and the way that we have conversations, and really take an effort to go beyond the conversation, that the university has had an opportunity to kind of learn their own lessons, but also had an opportunity to create new ways to be proactive and not just always responsive. I think that something that the university can do better is be more transparent, about how they handle these situations, but also be more of a listening university. I think that with President Edwards coming in, we've had an opportunity for her to, we've given her an opportunity to experience such things with us. She responds accordingly. But when I say listen, I mean more so around the lines of what action we're going to take next. And so I think that the university has a lot of it to grow. That's not a question. But I do thank them being administration and staff, for different tasks that they're taking to handle it accordingly, and understand that effective change needs to happen. But with effective change comes patience. With effective change comes vocalization, like Sydney said, because silence is violence. Complacency and neutralization is also a part of violence. And I think that the university is becoming more aware that, being neutral is not okay. But it also takes the responsibility of the students to continue to push the needle, continue to push the university, push back on the university when we think they've become too complacent, when we think they've become too neutral. A lot of times we'll get things like a press conference or something so simple that is usually to shut us up. And if it isn't for the small minority like Sydney and myself, we recognize that's not enough. But if the majority is saying, oh, they've given us X, Y, and Z, then the university will continue to be complacent and neutral about situations. So it's our responsibility to continue to push them to do better, to be better, and be effective.
Going off what Kevin said, basically, I think that trying to keep going for example, for disabilities on campus, like I think our accessibility is great, but there wasn't a lot of improvement, and there was no community for people with disabilities to join. And when I had this idea of having the Abilities Club, which was last year, and then for the first meeting, 30 people showed up. And I was like, wow, there's really a need to have community within our group instead of being like, hey, I know you're in a wheelchair, like making those awkward highs. Like you kind of like go back and like that person's in a wheelchair, but you really don't know that person. Well, now we have this place where people can actually get to know each other who share the same identity, if that makes sense. And then also to allow allies to come into the group to see, hey, like how can I help you? How can I advocate with you? And so like having this group gives us a voice that I don't think we had before on campus. With ODS, they can only do so much. The Office of Disabilities, like they make accommodations, they help all the students, but there wasn't a group to say, hey, what are the needs of the actual students? What are the specific needs? Like certain places that need more accessibility or another ramp, or those are just some examples. So I think Wright State can continue to work on improving things, not be complacent, like Kevin said, and keep going.
Thank you all for sharing that. And so that kind of leads to my other question, and you guys have all kind of answered it, which was, so how do you think the university can improve? If there was anything that anyone wanted to add to that, I think you all did really great testaments to, what your expectations are. And so if there's any, I'll give a second to see if anyone else has anything to add to it, and then I'll move on to the next question.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, Cindy. You can go ahead.
Thanks. I feel like representation within every department is a huge part, because I feel like if I'm talking to a group of people that have not really the best way to understand me, like how are they going to understand my problems and where I'm coming from? I feel like there should be a mix of everything in every department. That way we can have a well-rounded university. So that's definitely huge for me.
Yeah, to kind of go off of what Sydney said, so we have a task force on campus, racial equity task force, and a part of that task force, I had provided some minor notes, kind of talking about where we can improve. I also mentioned this on the Wright State newsroom on an interview, and I said, there's literally there's an office on campus that's supposed to represent URMs and initiatives across campus around inclusive excellence. This office also is supposed to represent those who are victim of Title IX issues. That office is vacant. There's maybe, I believe, one staff member there, and so there's literally no office on campus to ensure inclusive excellence and equity and diversity and inclusion for students on campus, but also representation whenever there's a sexual assault issue. Who are we going to go to? And so we have a university where our president is playing multiple heads. And so when we get an opportunity to build these offices and take the time to put effort and money in these offices, when we create racial bias training for all employees on campus, when we have an opportunity to we have a 1-to-3 ratio on representation in these offices and different departments, when we hire the students who we train up and give degrees to, that's when Wright State will see real change. Not no more funneling money into consultants to come and do the work, tell us where we need to fix our errors, but really listening to our Wright State campus community. Because I know I can count many times where students like Sydney, where students like Rebecca have gone to the university and sat on panels like this. We've gone to and had meetings with administration and say, hey, this is what we need to change. And I can count on one hand how many times those changes have taken into effect. And so it matters about, listening, but also implementing, but also putting our money where our mouth is, and stop putting our foot in our mouths as a university. That's where we're going to see real change.
Thank you. Oh, and go ahead, Nia.
I'll second what Kevin and Sydney both said. It's excellent things. And as a staff person, I'm not on an administration, but as a staff person that constantly sees our centers going through so much leadership change in our own area and staffing change, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because how are we to advocate for our students if I don't have that leadership that has to advocate for us in our aspects? But what we are doing, and I don't know if Dr. Edwards has said, because she's not having her chat this week, but what we are doing is we are meeting with the President's Diversity Council of Inclusive Excellence Friday. So we are meeting for the first time. And one of the task items that we are addressing is bringing in that equity and inclusion person, that associate VP, to fill that spot that's a much needed position. So that is moving forward. So hopefully with that in, we have that leadership, and then we can get permanency. And that's what we're working on now. We just announced the intercultural specialist for all our areas in our the culture and identity centers. So we're working on getting that permanency for you guys, for your students. We hear you. We know that this is lacking. We know that this is much needed, and we are moving towards that right direction. I know it's not fast. I wish it could be like tomorrow we hire somebody in, but we're going through a process that we're doing. So we're hopefully by the end of fall, we will get that person in established, and we will get that established. And we also started up, I don't know if the students are familiar with BERT, which is our bias incident response team. That has started up again. So BERT is, and you can go on the Equity and Inclusion website, and students can put in a report if they have an incident of bias. So that way we can address that too. That has started back up again because of listening to the students' needs. So what I encourage the students to do, and what Sydney and Kevin and Rebecca, all three have been doing excellent, is speak out, because they listen to you. And but we have too many times where we're just quiet. I think we just need to have that voice, and we are hearing you. So we are moving forward. So hopefully with these new changes that are coming, we will have that be able to implement a lot more of these programs that Kevin and Sydney and Rebecca have your guys' groups have been working on.
All right, thank you everyone for those words. And to kind of shift a little bit, but kind of tied into kind of what Rebecca said, is like finding your community and finding others that are willing to speak out with you, because we all know voices are stronger in numbers. So if you can talk about some of your experiences with different organizations, student organizations, and how they are essential to your experience here at Wright State.
Hello, I finally got settled in. I'm so sorry. I definitely feel like when I was on Wright State's campus and I went to class, I was one of maybe three people in the room that looked like me. One of maybe three people that are a minority in general. So I feel like without the student organizations that I have been a part of, I would not have enjoyed my experience so far at Wright State. So Black Student Union, being a part of Greek life and being a part of a historically Black sorority, having I'm a business major, so having a Black org that caters to African American business students, like I have such a huge support system. And yes, Wright State provides that, but I feel like without having a support system of people that identify with me, I feel like I probably would have dropped out by now. So I feel like all of the orgs who are putting in effort to be inclusive, including the people who might not make such a big percentage of the population here, they're definitely making a difference.
Going off of like what kind of Sydney said, like I feel the same way. Like for me, it was ACE. I talked about it. We're trying to become the first Asian intergroup sorority on campus. So once we cross, we will become official. And then also, and then I also got involved with ASA, Asian Student Association. And so having people that looked like you and like know what you kind of had similar backgrounds is kind of like it makes you feel like you belong, and not finding those groups is like you kind of feel lost, because like I don't see many Asians on campus. Like I think that's like even lower than what you guys are, and so like it's kind of, I guess, frustrating in a way. And I think like I mean identify with both sides of being Asian and being having a disability and stuff. So like finding your place, and I do know that once I started abilities, I feel like people who were just locked up in their rooms and not doing anything, they had a place to finally go to, you know. And we need to make sure that we're hitting every single community so that they have a place to belong, and also advertise more. Like I think that we need to have more people with their diversity on campus. Like why isn't the tunnels more promoted on campus for people who need accessibility? Or why don't we have even more scholarships for people with different like races and ethnicities to like bring to campus and stuff? So I think that's really important, and we may be missing some students that would want to come to Wright State, but they don't know the benefits of to come to Wright State. That makes sense. So I think better advertisement could go a long way.
Yeah, they really encompassed everything that I was gonna say. Definitely my involvement with student government, my involvement with Black Men on the Move for many years, and now my involvement with my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, definitely has kept me not just afloat but able to sail in campus life, and engage and be successful ultimately. I think that's been the greatest benefit of all, I think. And then so also to piggyback off of what Rebecca said, um, a lot of people don't know the opportunity and resources that is on campus. And I will say a lot of opportunities and resources are scarce and inaccessible for URMs, underrepresented minorities, because the bar is set so much higher for us to succeed. We have to do 2 and 3 times our counterparts to be successful and to at least get in the room to have the conversation with different individuals. And so when we have to go through so many loopholes, I'm sorry, so many leaps to be in these spaces, it is just distasteful for a lot of people who look to go to institutions in general. And I'm thankful that Wright State is making slow progress, but I'm sure and confident that it will come um, within these next few years.
Thank you all. And then if you just wanted to touch on any other experience on campus that has made you like feel welcome, whether it be a trip to one of our culture and identity centers or any offices on campus that made you feel welcome when you stepped onto campus.
Well, this quote unquote event wasn't necessarily for my quote unquote minority, but I think the international festival, I think that having that every year is great because, yeah, I'm a minority, but I don't necessarily go throughout my life thinking about what other people go through in their culture and what they have to endure at Wright State. So just to have a celebration of everyone, I feel like that's definitely one of my favorite events every year.
Mine would have to be I actually have a few. The Heritage Ball, obviously my favorite one. Being able to showcase Black excellence on campus, which is often forgotten, often overshadowed, as well as uh, the event that Lana throws every year. The very first time I went to it, and the name is at the tip of my tongue. Maybe you can help me out, Mia. Um,
Is it
the ball that you all have every year.
the the gala?
Yes, the gala. Yes,
He goes Latina.
I absolutely love the gala when I went. Food, the music, the talent, just absolutely amazing. The first time I went was a few years ago, and it was inside of the
Nutter.
Nutter. Thank you. I don't know why all these words keep missing me. Thank you. It was inside of the Nutter Center. That was an amazing event as well. So definitely those two. And then BSU has an icebreaker that they do at the beginning of each year, as well as my favorite one in my earlier years at Wright State was Party in the Woods. That was an amazing time. And the Halloween Trail. Okay, I'm going to tell all the events. So, but yeah, that's it. That's it.
I also like the Halloween trip because my first year it wasn't accessible, but then they actually made some progress and had an accessible trail. So they had the indoor accessible trail and then the outdoor that regular outdoor trail, if that makes sense. And so that I was really excited that Wright State improved on that, so that I could go and enjoy that as well. And then I really enjoy all the Lana events, especially the Chinese New Year one. That one's amazing. And then I also enjoy the study abroad events that they have when they have all the study abroad tables out, and they usually have some food out in there too and stuff. So like just any of the cultural events are really awesome.
And I'll chime in too to say that I love the international student fair that Sydney was talking about too. That's one of I like going to each table and they usually have like a little treat that's specific to that culture, and I like treats, so I like trying new treats. And so we'll kind of do one last question, and then if anyone has, any of the attendees have any questions. So what advice would you give a first-year student that was going to come to Wright State starting either this fall or next fall? What is like the one piece of advice that you'd want them to know?
Oh, well, this summer I also worked in orientation, and like I said, I work in the student retention office. So I work with first years all the time, and I just reiterate to them like get involved, because if you're just going to class and then going home, that's only 10% of your college experience. 90% of your college experience is spent outside the classroom, and you're not gonna feel that sense of community, especially now we're virtual in class. At least I could say I could see people. You log into a class now and all you see are initials, blank screens. Like, you're not going to feel that sense of community until you take action and decide to get involved. And I definitely will say, like, college will be a lot more enjoyable when you have that sense of community. So get involved. Or if you don't want to get involved, go to events. Give something a chance. Go to something that you wouldn't necessarily would pick first, but give all the orgs a chance, because you will be surprised what you might eventually like. So
I think for me is that like if I would give any advice to any student, it's like to make sure you like milk the cow, like go study abroad, go do these opportunities. Look at the resources for career center, or like there are so many resources on campus that are untouched, that like they could help you with resumes or stuff like that. Like make sure you are looking at all the resources that can help you, because once you graduate you don't have a lot of those resources anymore. You know what I mean? So make sure you're getting everything that you can while you're in college. Don't be like my senior year and have that all flown by you. You can't do much anymore. So yeah, try to like access those resources as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so mine is definitely going to be the same as Rebecca and Sydney. Um, but really what Sydney said, get uncomfortable with going to different events, that's going to be huge for you. Because that's where you build those relationships and figure out who and what is relatable to you, and tap into those untouched talents, those untouched, soft and hard skills that you'll begin to grow, those relationships that maybe are not so important now, but you never know, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, you guys are business partners, you are co-workers, things of that sort. You could be voting for your next, city council official. So you just don't know who's out there until you really, go and socialize and be a part of something. And that's really what matters, being a part of something and building those relationships, because as we all know, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And I can say that who you know has really gotten me to where I am today, as I graduate on December 12th. So it all matters about who you know. Um, more than anything.
Thank you, and congratulations on your pending graduation. That's really exciting.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. And so at any time, if anyone has any questions, that's all the everything that I have on here. So we'll wait a few more minutes. I just want to thank our panelists again one more time for joining us, and sharing their experiences and being open and honest with our future raters that we have logged on here. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to see it. We'll stay around for maybe another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll call it a meeting. All right, guys, I'm going to end it. Thank you again. Have a good night.